Good morning. Hello to everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle panel show here. I am absolutely delighted today to have the Holy Trinity, and actually this sounds really bad now, and David Mintz. Now that's not anything anti-Semitic, David. It's just it doesn't work. You can't have the Holy Trinity.
It wasn't entirely anti-Semitic. So carry on.
Yeah. You've got Corbyn here, and I'm down here.
Whale.
Okay, we're going to discuss the niceties of digital marketing, and to have that, of course, we've got three of the key cornerstones to this. We've got the content channel with Mr. Paul Long, the undisputed guru, floating head of Facebook. That's Simon Whale copyright, so don't steal that. We have Matt, the content provider extraordinaire, video, YouTube expert, everything that needs to be done in a moving frame. And then over here, it recently returned from being pulverized by Mr. Watkins. As you can see, he hasn't told us who won the fight yet, but the fact that there's nothing, he couldn't even afford a green screen, doesn't tell us that fight went so well. Mr. Jerry Lyons, obviously the Reverend himself, content provider extraordinaire, and David Mintz.
Thank you. Big consumer of content.
What? Yes, okay, but I thought you'd been losing a bit of weight then. Anyway, never mind. And actually, we should first of all lead again. It was not too far ago. Happy birthday to you, David. You're looking resplendent.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful, wonderful occasion, and I'm glad that Jerry, Paul, and Matt could have joined me. I'm sorry, Simon, you didn't get an invite to the party, but it was great, wasn't it, boys?
Really good. Really good.
I was at one of my top 35 influential parties, so I couldn't have made it anyway. Right, guys. What's the minimum an agent should be doing at the moment in terms of digital marketing? And Jerry, because you said you'd written down 4 sets of notes, I'm coming to you first.
I meant 4 notes, as in I don't know the answer. 5 notes.
Just keep reading it out.
So just minimum for me, obviously, because I come from the written word, the world of the written word, would be a blog. Because a blog, you can form the cornerstone of a lot of your written content. It can be used on your website. It can be used in your email marketing. If it's short enough, it can be used on your social media feeds, and it can be broken into sort of bite-sized sort of chunks that you can put out there on social media. So in terms of a minimum, for me, it would be the bare minimum has to be a blog, and it has to be at least weekly.
And Jerry, how important is that it's the owner of the business, or that it's at least somebody from within the business doing that? Because there are a number of obviously outsourced options here. Is that perfectly acceptable, or do you need to have to be able to put your own personality into these, do you think? Or is it just important to get started?
It's perfectly acceptable to have a ghostwriter. That's the service we provide, and Chris Watkin provide, and others provide, is a ghostwriting service. So we'd write the content for the agent. The agent can tweak the content if they want. I've found in my experience that the agents that try to do it themselves often start off really well, but then realize it's quite a big commitment to get out a weekly blog of 400, 500 words, and then it falls by the wayside. There's only one thing worse than no blog, and that's an old blog. If you've got an old blog sitting on your website, that sends out the wrong message, brothers and sisters.
They haven't found it yet, but it's worth searching.
Have you read my very interesting blog about home information packs and how they're going to revolutionize our industry?
I'll try and find it and bookmark it.
There's still 7 subscribers on that. I've still got out there somewhere. If you search for the Simon Whale Repeat blog, there was mine that I did, and as you said, Jerry, just didn't come back. So that's the same as any marketing board, dare I say, advertising, where consistency is absolutely the key here, isn't it? Just to make sure you stay in the okay. Yeah. Paul, what about you? What do you think the cornerstones are at the moment in terms of the minimum you should be doing?
Yeah, I think that word you said, consistency, follows over to Facebook as well, and the social media platforms. So from my side, just doing that regular video or the regular article has a huge impact on how your post gets pushed, on an organic basis, let alone a paid basis. So Facebook rewards for consistency. I do think that video is a huge benefit on the basis that you've got those 3 pillars of content from a video. You've got visual, sound, and written that you can pull from it. So that's why I do a lot of video, and I think agents can benefit if they can get around doing videos. That's where they're going to benefit as well, having more than one bit of content from that.
That would have been really awkward if you said you hated video there, and I said, "No, Matt."
Well, obviously, like we do dovetail with everyone on the screen, really. But yeah, consistency. It's no good. I mean, fair play if you've got the gumption to be in front of camera and promote your own business or give out some information. I mean, we always say there's get videos and there's give videos. So you're trying to get something from your potential client, or you're trying to give something. So I think if we go back into this, I mean, obviously Simon, you're a bit ahead of the curve with the level 3 lockdown coming, but it's a case of like just being present, being in front of people, and that consistency from producing a little video, even if it's a 30-second or a minute video. It's the fact that you're especially hyper local to your area, you're in front of people. So yeah, I mean, we'd say 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But
still talking about video, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it works for many rules in life, Simon, but yeah, consistency. It breeds, I mean, we'll probably talk about this later, but the know, like, and trust thing that, a lot of successful people bang on about. I know Seth Godin was talking about it the other week about, getting to know someone and sort of providing that like and trust before they actually meet you. And it's, we always say when we do video training, it's like if you bumps into Phil or Holly, like off the telly, I don't know them, like maybe most people don't, but there is a level of trust because they see them every day and they're nice people. And you think, yeah, I could probably go for a beer with them. And that's sort of the consistency will breed that eventually with video as well, we think. So, yeah.
You've bought into that hyper-local element there that Matt's talking about, haven't you, by owning your postcode essentially, or at least putting yourself out there as the expert?
Effectively, I think if you do it, if your frequency is enough, you're going to get that compound effect of people coming up to you and saying, I see you everywhere. You're in every social media feed. I see your videos all over the place. I see your property tours. And whether they like you or they love you, they certainly know you. And they're going to associate you with the business of house buying or house selling. And that's half the battle won. So when you come to sell your house, you're going to think, in this postcode, I'd like to think you think of my beautiful face. And then you will ask my opinion. So at the very, very least, I'm going to get a chance of winning that business. Yeah. And I think if you can win the trust as well, you're that fellow off the telly. You're not just a random stranger walking into somebody's home. Let's not forget the environment in which I have to pitch for business is the most hostile environment you can be in. You're in somebody else's home. That is their castle. They feel very comfortable there. You're a total stranger. So anything that gives you that edge on sort of familiarity and perhaps trustworthiness, it's a winner.
Yeah. And you've been doing this like really quite successfully now, David, for a while. But how long did it really take you to become good at it? What was the awkward steps you had to kind of get past?
I think you just need to get past that first or second video where you think, oh, I'm just another schmuck talking into my phone, and getting past all of that and just really sort of going for it. And once you do, you gather momentum, and it becomes part of your routine. Let's face it, as an agent, you're there anyway. So you're at the property, you're taking photos, you're doing whatever it is. If you can't take another 2 minutes out to point out the main sales features and walk somebody around the house, well, you shouldn't be there anyway. And I just think it's a no-brainer now. It's something that's now second nature. I'm not saying it's particularly good. The production quality is not amazing, but it's raw. It's what people want to watch.
But you're like the Mona Lisa. They just can't take their eyes off you.
I've got to tell you that I took all my inspiration from you say Mona Lisa, but it was Lisa Novak in Australia. Somebody who I think, most of us would agree has got the edge on me in terms of being slightly more attractive. She's a pleasure to watch at any time. I'm not so I have to make my content relevant.
By the way, David, we've been looking for your own vehicle on the Kerfuffle podcast. I think the title "Just Another Schmuck" is made for you.
Thank you.
Guys, that's easy enough to talk about. Obviously, the minimum we should doing, but really brass tacks. Can you put a level on how much people should be investing in digital marketing? Is it literally you could say they should be investing £200 a month in Facebook? X amount there. Should it be a percentage of turnover? Are there any sort of barometers that people can benchmark?
I'll just jump in quick. We always bang on about the Rightmove revolution, and Chris and I in particular, and Watkins as well, actually, or Watkins, should I say? But you go back to how much a full page newspaper ad used to be 15, 20 years ago, and you'd be paying £1,000 a week. Now, Rightmove, some agents pay more, but what's the average? About 900 odd quid a month. So actually, is it that bad value? And then when you start mixing that in with other stuff like a blog or a podcast or a video every 2 or 3 times a week, then maybe you should be matching your Rightmove spend or spending 500 quid, half of what you spend on Rightmove, because everyone's on there. But also, going back to David's point about just another schmuck, no one else knows that you're another schmuck.
You'd be surprised how many people think I'm another schmuck.
Your average Joe watching a video that David or Jerry or whoever makes on the sofa on a Sunday night or a Wednesday evening, they're not Barry Norman off of film night. They're not that into film that they'll start picking bad edits or sort of jump cuts or slightly bad audio. We bang on about having good audio, but the fact that you're, like David said, the TV personality on their local TV screen is more than enough. They're not looking to criticize how you've made the video, whether it looks any good. You're just giving them the content. So I think Paul will tell you, but we asked him the other week, what could you do with some Facebook spend with a video? And Paul said, if you put £5 a day behind it, you can do some real damage. Now, to do some real damage at 300 quid a month seems a no-brainer to us. So,
Yeah. And what should be the priority, though? It's easy to... I think one of the things that baffles people, worries people is, where do they start, but also what they should be prioritising.
Go on, Jerry.
Now go on, Paul.
I was going to say that I think if you lead with value, you can't go wrong. And I also think a lot of the time agents aren't thinking about, spontaneous content and also questions they're being asked all the time. People just want to have value from the content. So, and the questions they're being asked every day is what people want to know. So they've got content straight away at their hands, even before having to sit down and write big blog articles. It's just really sort of writing down those questions you're asked at the valuation when people walk into your office and sharing it on a bigger platform and very powerful platform.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, the question of you said how much to spend, but that's relevant, but I think it's about when to spend, because there's a mistake that I know 95% of estate agents do, and they pull out of advertising at the wrong time. The best time to advertise your estate agency as a brand is Christmas. And everyone used to pull out of the newspapers at Christmas. I've got a massive magazine company, biggest independent magazine company in the Southeast. And he deals with hundreds of agents, hyper-local magazines. He says he's always baffled when estate agents go, I won't advertise December, I won't advertise January. It's like, you dummies, all your competition have pulled out. It's an open field for you to go in and get attention. It's the same during lockdown. Any agent that upped their marketing spend in lockdown came out of it stronger. Across the board.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Market in the downtimes, because you're not saying spend an extra 10 grand a month on marketing. We're just saying put a few £100 behind it and be that guy that hasn't crawled back into his hole and is furloughed him, you know, him and his staff. Be out there. And like Paul says, you know, a lot of this content's, you know, 20 years in the making. It's already in agents' heads. They just don't know how to get it out of their head in a, you know, a nice content way. And that goes back to the give and get videos. You know, if you want to give value, then do a video specifically for landlords. Do a video for first-time buyers. You know, what are they looking for? What questions should they ask? For landlords, you know, same again, like give them some value. And, you know, what are people doing during lockdown? Yeah, they're working, but they're also on the phones and the internet more. So
what you say there, Matt, about what was it, give and get? Because I 100% agree, but because I can't remember anything because I've had too many blows to the head recently, we use an acronym called PIGS. Which is, if you can answer problems, interests, goals, and stresses of your audience with your content, you're not going to go far wrong. And that's you could create so much content sitting down and write, what's the problem of the landlord? What's the interest of the first-time buyer? What's the goal of the house seller who's been overvalued? Yeah. And what's the stress of somebody who's currently using a estate agent who's rubbish? You know, like that sort of thing. So yeah,
I'm having that one. Yeah,
it's not copyright. I've looked into it.
Jerry, do you think that dynamic you've just spoken about there during, obviously this is fairly unique, the pandemic, but downturn certainly it's true because market shares change quite radically. Do you think that's because there is such a void there that people who do the counterlogical things can take a more marked advantage, where in a normal marketplace, everyone's kind of more towards the top of their game?
There's a classic example of that, and it's Nike in, I think it was the early 90s recession. Reebok had a bigger market share than them going into, I think it was 91, 92 might have been. But Reebok, when the recession hit, said, no, we're going to really just stop all of our marketing and really cut it down. Nike went the other way, and they called it the play to win approach. They just went boom. So when the recession ends, as all this recession and pandemic and all, we will get back to a normal. But Nike had come out of that recession so much stronger, and Reebok, well, the rest is history. They never caught up. So Buffett's got.
That's really good to know because, you know, early 90s, I wasn't even born then. So
you're about 30 then.
You were probably dancing around the Hacienda in aforementioned Reebok classics.
Yeah, this isn't a panel show for that. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I mean, Jerry just spoke about there in terms of the timing element as well. What do you think are some of the worst mistakes you've seen from agents when engaging in digital marketing?
Oh, I've got one. Like,
okay, over to you.
Two. One, no video. Like, come on.
Yeah.
2020, make something. And the second one is that people. I mean, we've had it before with, like, you know, high-end agencies or, you know, sort of multi-branch agencies that are deemed successful. And you're like when you do stuff, don't just do it once. Like, we had a guy that we worked with in Leamington Spa, and he said, well, I've made that video with you guys, and I don't seem to be getting much back from it. And so Chris said to him, how many times have you posted it since we made it? He said, oh, once. And then we were like, that was like 4 months ago, Sean. And he was like, well, I didn't want to, like, annoy people with constantly posting it. And we were like, but, you know, the Leamington Spa population, whatever it is, they're not all on the internet at the same time every day. Like, Jane might be on holiday, or Derek's, you know, gone to do whatever Derek's doing on his time off. So keep reposting, and you won't annoy people. If you've already seen it, people will just scroll past it. You won't, like, hate mail for posting your video again, but you also might catch up with the second wave of people that weren't on the internet when you posted it first time. So don't stress about, like, posting too much, because people will either watch it again, not watch it, or they've already seen it. So, yeah.
And that's why you see about seven different types of Chris Watkins hairstyle when he's posting all these videos over and over again. So
exactly.
But that's also the thing. The more frequency that you do it, actually gives you a bank of content that you can draw on at any time. So most of what we do as an industry, it doesn't. There's not much difference, you know, between sort of what we were doing 2 years ago and now. The technology side of thing that evolves, but the process is very much the same. So the the advice I might give to a vendor on how to present their home may be the same 2 years ago as it would be today. So if you've done it and you've got it there, use it again and again and again. You won't need to pay the content guys so much. Sorry, Jerry. Sorry. No, but I'll tell you, on that point, the bit where the content guys really do come into their own is for anything that is of its own time. So, for instance, there's a stamp duty dispensation that's been delivered by Rishi Sunak. You want a press release on that day, Jerry's your man for it. You know, Chris has done something similar. He did a video around the stamp duty thing. So I think you're going to need, don't be afraid to take outside help for that. But in general, if you've got banks of content, recycle it.
Yeah, for sure. If it's good enough for Gary Vee, it's good enough for anyone else, I guess.
True that.
Yeah.
Paul, on that point of kind of annoyance that Matt was highlighting there, you have actually got tools within Facebook anyway, haven't you, in terms of the frequency statistics that give you a clue as to whether those adverts are being seen too often anyway. And so you can actually get a feeling for whether you need to just pull back from the advertising or to keep showing that advert time and time again, haven't you? So it's not quite an entire shot in the dark, is it?
Yeah, so as soon as you put money behind any content, you are then just distributing that content to a wider field, and you can start controlling how many times people actually see the post or advert. But even stepping back from that, what you were talking about getting back in front of people showing interest, retargeting is a big thing that agents miss. They're talking about something else which agents do wrongly, is that they put content out and they're putting this great content out, but Facebook actually gives you the tools to show you who's showing interest, and anyone who's raised their hand by watching your video or going to your website or visiting your Facebook page, these are the people which are showing interest, and they're the ones that you then can show up regularly, and they want to see your content. So tools are there for both, to see how many times people are watching it, but also how to get back in front of your fan base that you're generating. And the other one which I thought of was direct sale messages. Another big mistake with content is, as agents over the years, we've all been so used to newspaper adverts, leaflet adverts, where we ask for the business and we say who we are. But with social media, you're interrupting people's time, so you've got to have something which is going to catch their attention and provide value. So wrong sort of content straight away. Direct sale messages.
Who, just for everyone out there, who do you think is doing digital best in the world of estate agency at the moment?
Who's stuff I like? Ben Moore, the one with the beard.
Yeah,
I like his stuff. I think visually, Alex Stories of Cheshire.
And Jerry, what are these guys doing differently?
Well, with Ben, I think he just seems to really enjoy being behind the camera. Oh, sorry, being in front of the camera. Ian's photography is just I mean, it helps that he gets amazing houses. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, his photography is next level. It's really
amazing, isn't it? I'm never buying a house in Cheshire, but I always look through. I mean, I know Ian quite well anyway, but always look through the photos because it's like a dreamland with all the, especially some of the twilight photography. They've got it nailed on.
And that's an area where agents, if you talked about mistakes, I think sometimes estate agents, and they're getting much, much better at this. They used to always their content would just be listings on social media. You go through Facebook and it's this property for sale, this property for sale, this property for let. But what I think estate agents have realised is they've got to punctuate that with helpful stuff, a bit like what Matt says about give and get type stuff, and Paul said value stuff. But with that punctuation of property listings, there are some properties that are worth going big on. If you get a really, really good listing, people like property porn. Do you know what I mean? That was property porn. Just make sure that my mic didn't break out there or anything. And people like that sort of stuff. I think as well, it's not a mistake, but it's an opportunity there for agents to show a bit more of themselves in their content. Because if people buy people, you have to show personality.
Yes.
Yeah. So That would be
There's no better way to shoot down that the tired myth about estate agents, isn't there? Just by being there and being in front of them. I mean, there's no way you can see David's videos and attribute the kind of classic titles that estate agents do get lazily attributed. I think the thing that I really like about some of that really high quality video, and just you're absolutely right, Matt. I tune in and just think it's not a million miles from me. I'm thinking about just moving, but actually it makes. It obviously shoots down as well the argument, the Aussies can do it because they've got prepaid advertising, and all the houses are fantastic, like it's only ever sunny there, and obviously every house is a palace. We have got spectacular properties and spectacular landscapes that do merit obviously having that level of quality, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. And like going back to the Ben Moore stuff, like for me, it's a bit too deep dive, but he does these lovely deep dive virtual tours that are like, 8 to 10 minutes. And like David Thomas did one the other week. Lovely.
I really like that one.
It was cool, man. And I think with that one, that's punctuated by, I don't know whether he released them live, but he had like a little blooper reel where he was struggling to get out of Ferrari. And it very much, we're huge fans of bloopers. We're doing one for Pete Lawrence at the minute because it humanizes the estate agent really, really well, like, because they're just normal. Yeah.
The bloopers are sometimes the best. And it's only recently I've noticed a trend of estate agents being real enough to sort of think, you know what, sorry, I'm just going to let the bloopers be released. We don't have to be professional. We can show when
Jerry, that's entirely down to the Kerfuffle podcast. Once entire agents started seeing, you don't have to be professional or even have any sort of idea what you're doing.
We made the blooper into an art form, and sometimes hour-long shows. But the interesting thing is that for yes, you have got some agents that we've just mentioned that have magnificent properties that would equal the Australian properties or the American properties on the coast as a visual spectacle. And so therefore it's worth putting more than a $5 behind it, and maybe it's worth investing a couple of £100 in a high quality video. Matt will probably do it much cheaper than that, but basically we've got to bear in mind that for most of England and for most of the agents in England, the day-to-day bread and butter aren't these amazing fantastic listings, and they can just be a standard 2 up, 2 down. And the mistake that some agents make is not showing that because they think, well, it's not nice enough to show the public. In actual fact, I think if you want to, part of the idea of sort of trying to stay relevant to a cross section of audiences, that you've got to have something for everybody. So yes, you can do a video on a £1.3 million mansion house, but you've also got to be prepared to do the same on an 80 grand bed sit. So, and I think there's an audience for both of those.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know whether these guys manage to charge back to the vendor the full price? Is it subsidized? Or do they just take it on the chin and include it because they think it's helps their marketing?
I think with Ian, it's very much vendor paid marketing, like the sort of Aussie American style model, at least part funded. Because like I was chatting to Chris England the other day, and we were talking about pricing strategy within our business, and like the hairdresser model, where you have a director and a style, and then the junior, and I think it's same with when you're like I know you're right, David. Like people do need to be shown. First time buyers need to be shown, and lovely, cute 2 up, 2 down on a new estate because people are looking for those. But with the 1.3 ones, it's like saying to someone, right, you're organising a wedding, but you're selling a house. So it's a bit too expensive. What do you want to get rid of? Well, we can do the flowers and the table, cards for £1,000, but the band's 15 grand. I would probably lose the band then. And it's the same with vendor paid marketing with a nice video. If you go to someone who's paying 6, 7, 8, 10 grand on a fee to get rid of their £1 million pad, then what's £500 on a video? It is peanuts to enable that sale. And obviously I say this, but video does help enable the sale. It essentially comes down to the agent and being nice and having the right answers and this, that, and the other. But I think when you go for these huge, big marketing packages, like there is some mileage in just charging it onto the vendor, because it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. So,
and it's worth it to go all L'Oreal about it. It is worth it. And if you couldn't convince the next vendor that their home was worth a little bit of a contribution, he must have loads of stats to back it up as well. I'm imagining, in terms of it simply is impossible that those properties don't just get stellar viewing figures.
Yeah, and I think Ian's very much in the, he's done a few Perry Power training camps and with him and Royston, and they do stories estates. I know he got it from Perry Power, but they negotiate the onward move as well if that's a possibility. So Ian will say, look, if I can save you 20 grand because I genuinely believe it's overvalued on the property that you like, do you want to split the difference? And I don't know quite how he works it, but there is a negotiation side of the business where, agent to agent would probably get a better sort of, I don't know, maybe get a better deal from another agent because there's no sort of airs and graces there. It's like, look, you've overvalued this. I know that. And so I don't know how well that works for him, but I know he does offer that as a service. So he's got all bases covered by the looks of it. Yeah.
Is it illustrative that when I asked you that question, you instantly came back with small, vibrant leading independents rather than the big boys here? Is that, are they not at the
I think
game on this one?
Is it not the tanker turning scenario where, like, Ian and Alex,
or me and Greg's?
You reverse him, don't you? You reverse him. But no, I think, yes, they can be more agile, more responsive to customer demands or, vendor needs. Whereas, Knight Frank and Savile do amazing videos, but they've got this big shiny brand to protect, and they might be, I mean, we've definitely had, bigger agencies and franchisees on video training courses, and your head honchos are definitely worried about damaging their brand by putting their face on film.
This has always been a problem, hasn't it? When they first started on social media, they literally, the big boys, they literally didn't have social media profiles because they were just so terrified of getting that flack from any of the trolls. It took a long time for them to get over that. And I think you're right. I think there is still a bit of that kind of inherited fear. Well, that embarrassment factor. But as Jerry's saying before, how do you get across your personality if you're not willing to put yourself out there? It doesn't say a lot for you, does it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. It's and also the other thing is that, like, being worried about making video because everybody else is doing it, it's just a complete fallacy. Like, us four see shitloads, sorry, excuse my French, loads of property tour and whatnot videos, but if you're John, who works in the butchers in Grantham, you only see what's around in Grantham. Yeah. He doesn't see Jerry's content or kerfuffle. He might see kerfuffle stuff because you are everywhere. But
despite Paul telling me not to, I just can't help pressing that boost button. So it just hits all manner of batshit people.
You've just got an electronic pink kerfuffle finger.
Yeah. So, come on.
Yeah, so it is horses for courses, but video is nowhere near as prevalent as what agents assume. It's just agents see in the same groups as all the other agents, people making videos. So yeah.
But you made that point to me, Matt, about, because when I was talking about it, and I did think, oh well, isn't everyone videoed out? And you actually challenged me. Well, actually, in a B2B sense, in terms of what you're doing, who realistically is there apart from that Hawkins? Smash his face in, Jerry. You're absolutely right. But then what's really interesting, and going back to what all of you have said before, is I can think of just so many agents, and they're really good agents, that they burst like a shining star onto your Facebook, don't you? Oh, they're standing outside their homes. They're giving these these thoughts of the day. They're giving really, and then they just disappear off, don't they? Yeah. And I don't know whether that's a sign of that kind of just they've been too successful, and it's the old feast and famine. So they've built it up, and then when they're busy, they simply can't do all that video. But you've got to find a way of making that consistent and still guaranteeing the time, haven't you? Because it's still important for them.
Yeah, like David said, build it into your day. What's an extra 2-3 minutes? I know there's the editing, and but there's ways around that. There's people that edit for you. It's just putting your face on the camera. Hi, David.
Hello again.
And recycle that content. You mentioned it before, Simon. Like, it's evergreen, and video's really environmentally friendly. There's not thousands of flyers floating around. There's no
Exactly.
so
you mean Greta's not going to be angry with us? You don't want her after you.
this is true. This is true.
I think that's a good point about getting that content all done, because there's some of the best agents in the world will just take a day out and get all the content done. It's all evergreen, and then they're distributing it over the month or a few months. And I think there was some research done. People only remember what you put on social media up to about, I think it was about 6 weeks, and then they won't even remember that content's been put on social media. So just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, good advice.
Get all the old podcasts up again. Just change the date.
Well, if you didn't change your hairstyle as often as you do, we'd be okay.
If they're looking for simple ways to create daily content, they just need to think like a local reporter. Yeah. So, you might think, oh, big traffic jam on the A406 it's a London road. Do you know what I mean? But let people know stuff. So document your day. And if you go past the place where a new shop has opened, that's a nice, easy, and that doesn't even have to be video. That can be a picture. Because the content is video, it's written, it's imagery. It's audio. That's the next stage, I think. I think that's where we're going to see more agents getting involved in some sort of really doing podcasts properly, perhaps.
What do you mean? We're not doing it properly?
Yes. Yes.
Just because we don't get paid to do it doesn't mean it's not proper, Lions. All right.
But
yeah.
I would say I think lockdown was a big lesson for agents in the power of content.
Yeah, they stepped up, didn't they? I mean, I do think, there's been a sort of self-improvement theme going on for some time now with the likes of, obviously, that other podcast, bringing across the ideas, the self-improvement from Australia, but not just talking the talk, actually people out there doing it. And I think the point was it gave not just the opportunity, but the necessity, Jerry, didn't it? If you weren't going to do it then, when were you going to do it?
Yeah, when you had an audience at home, the whole nation was at home. So you had a massive audience, like nationally, like regionally and locally, to put content in front of. And I think agents realize, oh, you know what, we can get a bit of attention here. We can help people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were about 24 hours away from that, David. Just so you know, I'm coming round to yours because I'm not. We need to keep our podcast group together. So I'm now in your bubble, my friend.
It's a bubble, no problem. You can hunker down here, not a problem. We're only going to be locked in for, I think, about 4 months, going the way that we are at the moment. Okay. For some reason, they reckon that Northerners are more dangerous than Southerners.
No, you know what it is? I've told you this, David. You haven't heard my amazing theory, have I? No. As the scientist that I am, I have plotted why is there such a Northern Midlands prevalence, all down to location of Greggs. You don't get them there, is it? You go to that factory up there, that vegan sausage roll that Piers Morgan told us about. Never mind the bats. It's that, my friends. This is where's my tinfoil hat?
Really quick.
Right, I feel like we've deviated from digital marketing. Okay.
It's all part and parcel of the same thing.
It is. So let's start off with you, Paul. What would be the top 3 ideas you could recommend for getting the most out of marketing at the moment?
I think consistency is the main thing. For me and social media, there's no doubt that all the platforms they repay with consistency. Facebook looks at how often you're posting and what you're doing, even gives you like a quality score on your page, and then that will help agents with sort of organic free reach, which we all like. Free distribution, free coverage. So consistency, going back to it, is vital. My
takeaway from that was a free organic reach around. You can have that one for free.
And I think going back to lead with value, for me and social media, the biggest mistake agents make is just putting the wrong messages out on Facebook. So it's a waste of time. It's a waste of their time, and you just got to think: is this providing that person value? Before putting it out there, are they better than they were before they saw it? And if they're not, then it's just not going to help them. So yeah, content of value, spontaneous content, like David said, that works so well at the moment. Documenting what's happening right now. That is the best sort of content that works on social media. And then I think that's probably about 3 in there, I imagine.
Yeah.
Probably more.
And just, would you be advising your clients? I mean, David, you were talking just to me on WhatsApp and saying the market's getting suddenly quite cool.
I'd say don't tell anyone.
No, I'm not allowed to tell anyone. But would you be recommending, obviously, in this run up to the end of the year now, that they improve their marketing, or is this a hunker down for a rainy day?
This is really interesting. So I think any idiot can sell houses in a market that we've just experienced in the past 3 months. If you've experienced a boom pretty much anywhere in the country, yes, you get out there and you can list them and you can sell them. I think when things turn tough, you've got 2 things that your content is going to be doing. So one of them is managing the expectation of the client, because they're going to be coming out of a period where they've heard their best friend sold it for 20,000 more than the asking price, and it went within 24 hours. If they're expecting the same results, you're going to need to sort of just educate them as to how the market's going. They also need a bit of confidence. So they're going to want to know that things are happening in the marketplace, what is happening, what is achievable, what's not achievable. And you might, to use a very COVID term of pivot, you might want to pivot again towards a distinctly different audience. So whereas at the moment your audience are sort of homeowners, home occupiers, you might find your business pivoting slightly more towards investors, because they tend to thrive in a harder market. They're sat on cash reserves. They're going to want to know different things. So at the moment, I'll take you around the property. I'll tell you how many bedrooms it's got, how lovely it's going to be for your kids to play in the garden. But next week, if I have to pitch to investors, I'll be talking about rental returns, how quickly you're going to get a tenant in it. So you have to sort of change your narrative.
Yeah, good points.
Like every good salesperson, now that's great advice, David. And Matt, what about you? What advice can you give?
It goes back to, first and foremost, like just on what Jerry was saying before about this, surely everyone knows, we know that Boxing Day is the most used day on Rightmove. Ergo, why not? Because historically, even though we've only been in the industry like 4 years, historically, December seems to slow down quite quickly for agents. Like, they're, part of the industry will sort of knock off a couple of weeks before Christmas Day. They'll still be doing stuff, but obviously the whole market slows down because everyone's getting ready for Christmas. So go mental with your video content. Start planning it now. And in those quiet weeks, especially if you're a business owner, start delegating a few admin tasks and just go out there, like Paul and Jerry said, and spend a day making that video content. Tango Pig, nice name. Spend a day making that content and then spend a week putting it together or editing it. But with that, I'd go back on what Jerry said, and it's very much the hyperlocal thing, is become your tour guide of your area, because everyone loves, no matter about the rough edges, around any town or city, everyone sort of loves where they live and where they're from. Good or bad, they'll defend it. So why not be those eyes and ears around town? Like you say, if there's a new cafe open or a pub or whatever it is, even if it's a really tiny, small thing about traffic, like Jerry said, then people are interested. I bet you guys have we've got Grantham Matters. I know there's a Wrexham Matters Facebook page where most locals or, stay-at-home mums are on this page and they're seeking out local info. So be that guy. I'm not saying post into those groups, but be that guy for new people moving into the area that holds all the info. Yeah, very much.
Otherwise, someone else will do, won't they?
They totally will do. And then you're going to feel a right mug when you're second to market, because you're then copying that guy that did videos first. So
when that does happen, and it can happen there, obviously a lot of people get a bit despondent and don't do it. Should they rise to the challenge and just try and come up with a different angle, or because you can't see that ground, can you?
You can't, but also again, depending on your brand or your business, you've got different different client base. Like David said, you might just be lettings only, so you are pitching to investors and landlords with portfolios. If you're sales, then it's a different market, and then depending on structure of a first-time buyer, probably is not going to go with Fine and Country unless they've got a bit of wedge behind them. So you're then looking at the more independents that can speak to those people at that time of their stage of buying. So yeah, it's definitely horses for courses.
And Jerry, as the Count of Monte Fisto, you get to finish the show.
What I would say as well is with your content, I think all content marketing road should lead back to your database.
Yeah.
I had an agent go to me, I've got 10,000 followers on Facebook. Hold on, mate, you ain't. Mark Zuckerberg has got those. He owns those. He could drop you like a bad habit. He could, as Paul would probably be able to tell you, the algorithms change and all this. Don't get me wrong. Use social media content, written, video, whatever you want to do. Use that to attract the crowd, but try and get them over onto your database so you at least got an email, telephone, SMS marketing next year is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you need that bits of data. And just the final sort of point for me would be, whenever we do a bit of content, we ask ourselves 4 questions when I sit down to write it. Yeah. And it's off an acronym called HITS. So as you can see, acronyms, because I can't remember nothing. Right. So HITS is it helpful? Yeah. Is the content interesting? Is it trustworthy? Can we back it up with a stat or a source? Or like David said, don't tell people it's not raining. Don't tell people it's raining when it's not. Because if you're honest about the market, the market is changing, so you need to change your expectations. Yeah. So that's where trust comes in. And the final part of that acronym HITS is it sustainable? Can you keep at it? So don't think we're going to do something every day for the next 6 months. You ain't. You just ain't. If you're going at it like that, plan it sustainably. Start small, but start. If you're already doing content.
I'm going to replay that video because I don't think that did spell HITS, but that was still fantastic advice.
Trustworthy, sustainable.
See, now when you do it like that, then look, there you are. Look, you're a man of the moment at the moment. Spot on, Jerry. Well done. Okay, guys, thank you very much for that really tight session today. As I said, getting a train. So, but really enjoyed all of that there. To anyone interested, guys, these are the experts. They are, as I said, the Holy Trinity and David. So reach out to Jerry, Paul, and Matt, all on Facebook. You can find them very easily, or drop us a line here at Kerfuffle. We'll pass on your details. These are the people to carry you through. Okay, guys, thank you very much for that. Have a great one. Have a great week.
Okay, guys.
Have a great week.